Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, and this is your AM update.
So with God's help, it'll be the new beginning for an entire beautiful Middle East.
An enormous achievement. President Trump declaring peace in the Middle East as world leaders begin the next phase of negotiations over Gaza's future.
But when it comes down to understanding the implementation of how it is that our kids are coexisting.
The Democrat candidate for Virginia governor, Abigail Spanberger, struggles to articulate her position, well, any position at all, on men in women's locker rooms as her lead in the polls slips. And rough weather batters Alaska and the East Coast. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM update. I've been talking a lot about Riverbend Ranch lately because I love their steaks. Riverbend Ranch has taken Black Angus beef to a whole new level. For the last 35 years, Riverbend Ranch has been creating a very elite Angus herd by using ultrasound to select genetically superior cattle with a focus on flavor and tenderness. When you purchase from Riverbend Ranch, you're not only supporting the 64 cowboys and cowgirls and their families who work on the ranch, you're also supporting over 260 other U.S. ranches and the hundreds of American families who work on them. It's born in the USA, raised in the USA, and processed in the USA, too. This beef is aged to perfection for 21 days and then shipped directly from the ranch to your home. This is not your average Black Angus beef. So order from riverbendranch.com, use the promo code Megyn to get $20 off your first order, and let me know what you think. riverbendranch.com, promo code Megyn. President Trump and more than 20 other world leaders traveling to Egypt yesterday for a landmark Gaza Peace Summit, as the return of all living Israeli hostages marks the start of Phase 2 of the White House's 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza and create a lasting peace. President Trump, joined by the presidents of Egypt, Turkey, and Qatar, signing a declaration for enduring peace and prosperity that reads in part, quote, "We are united in our determination to dismantle extremism and radicalization in all its forms. No society can flourish when violence and racism is normalized or when radical ideologies threaten the fabric of civil life. We commit to addressing the conditions that enable extremism and to promoting education, opportunity, and mutual respect as foundations for lasting peace." Mr. Trump saying the deal represents more than peace in Gaza, calling it the beginning of a transformation of the entire Middle East region.
The momentous breakthrough that we're here to celebrate tonight is more than the end of the war in Gaza. It's with God's help, it'll be the new beginning for an entire beautiful Middle East, where we have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to put the old feuds and bitter hatreds behind us. And that's why so many people in this room, they didn't get along. Some did, some didn't, but they're getting along now. This has brought the people together. This is the first time the Middle East crisis has brought people together as opposed to driving them apart. And to declare that our future will not be ruled by the fights of the generations past, which is foolish. So together, let us continue in the spirit of cooperation and goodwill that has finally brought us to this incredible, historic breakthrough. If we do together, we will reach the Middle East's incredible destiny, a safe and prosperous and beautiful crossroads of culture and commerce, faith in humanity and geographic center. This will be the geographic center of the world.
Throughout the day, the atmosphere remaining upbeat. President of Egypt saying this moment could not have been reached without President Trump.
You are the only one who is able to bring about peace and to achieve peace.
Mr. Trump praising regional leaders for setting aside generations of conflict to make the deal possible. The mood light at times. President Trump at one point teasing Norway's representative just days after the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, which is Norwegian and sits in Norway, passed him over for the award.
We have Norway. Oh, Norway. Oh, yeah, Norway. What happened, Norway? What happened? Where's Norway? Where is he? We have Johnny. We're going to the World Cup. I can tell you that. Where's Norway? I don't think he wants to stand. Oh, he's back there. Well, we have Norway.
Still, difficult talks lie ahead over Gaza's post-war governance, Hamas's future, and the potential for Palestinian statehood. the 20-point plan allowing for the eventual possibility, but only after a long series of preconditions are met. President Trump not weighing in on the issue in front of the cameras, it is unclear if the topic was broached in private. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who did not attend the ceremony in Egypt, is opposed to a Palestinian state. Behind the scenes, the Associated Press reporting some relationships between regional leaders are more strained than President Trump's remarks would indicate. Prime Minister Netanyahu's possible attendance at the summit, reportedly a source of controversy. President Trump backing Mr. Netanyahu multiple times throughout the whirlwind trip, including here aboard Air Force One en route to Israel.
Your relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu has been through some ups and downs. You had to get a little tough on him. Where is that relationship now, and can you tell us about it?
Very good. He's a wartime president. He did a very good job. I had some disputes with him, and they were quickly settled. I can tell you that. But as far as I'm concerned, I think he's done a great job. I think he was the right person at this time. You know, look, it's been this way for centuries. You know, we're not talking about for 10 years, for 5. It's been this way for centuries. And he did a great job. And working with me, he was fantastic.
In remarks to the Israeli legislature, Mr. Trump asking Israeli President Isaac Herzog to pardon Mr. Netanyahu. The prime minister indicted in 2019 on charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. The legal proceedings currently ongoing, though slowed down by the war.
And this man is a good man right here. These two men are good men right here. Hey, I have an idea. Mr. President, why don't you give him a pardon? Give him a pardon. Come on. By the way, that was not in the speech, as you probably know. But I happen to like this gentleman right over here, and it just seems to make so much sense. You know, whether we like it or not, this has been one of the greatest wartime presidents. This has been one of the greatest wartime presidents.
Domestically, more Democrats trickling in, the ones willing to show human decency and class, that is, to offer credit to President Trump for brokering the deal. Former President Obama's Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, on CNN.
This achievement, and it is a significant achievement, would not have happened without United States leadership. President Trump deserves a lot of credit for bringing the parties together.
Former President Bill Clinton also releasing a statement, quote, "I'm grateful that a ceasefire has taken hold, that the last 20 hostages have been freed, and that desperately needed aid has now begun to flow into Gaza. President Trump and his administration, Qatar, and other regional actors deserve great credit for keeping everyone engaged until the agreement was reached," end quote. President Obama could take a lesson. As for what comes next, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff saying he and Abraham Accords architect, presidential son-in-law Jared Kushner, will remain active in the negotiations.
Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner, I'm curious, you played such an important role in the tactical negotiations here. What will your role be going forward as a lot more has to be brought to the table here?
The minute we had inked the deal, Jared and I were already working on the implementation side of the deal. So we've dug in. We'll be here quite a bit. That's at the direction of the president.
Coming up, the race for governor in Virginia tightens as Democrat Abigail Spanberger struggles to articulate her, or any, stance on men in women's spaces. And wild weather slamming both sides of the country, with houses floating away in Alaska and parts of the East Coast drenched. As President Trump is settling into his new administration, one of the top Democrats in Congress aiming to undermine the Trump agenda is Democrat Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois. And according to our sponsor, the Electronic Payments Coalition, Senator Durbin has a new plan, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, Americans have thousands of choices in credit cards, but they say Senator Durbin's plan will result in less competition and less security, which means more risk for your credit and your identity. You can learn more for yourself at guardyourcard.com. And you could consider telling your senators to stop Dick Durbin's government takeover of your credit card before it's too late. Democrat Abigail Spanberger's lead in the Virginia governor's race appears to be narrowing against Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl-Sears following the candidates' lone debate last week. Right-leaning pollster Trafalgar showing Spanberger leading by just 3 points now, 48 to 45. That same pollster, conducting a survey 1 week before, had Spanberger leading by 5. Spanberger holding a comfortable lead throughout the race. However, a texting scandal involving the Democrat candidate for Attorney General Jay Jones appearing to weigh down her race as well. Recently published text messages sent by Democratic AG candidate Jay Jones in 2022 show him fantasizing about the former Republican State House Speaker getting shot and wishing death upon the Speaker's children. Jones's own momentum also slowing since that news broke, Trafalgar showing Jones dropping by 5 points, now trailing his Republican opponent, Jason Miyares. Spanberger and Earl Sears facing off last Thursday in a debate, the Democrat refusing to call on Jones to drop out or even to withdraw her endorsement of him.
Ms. Spanberger, I understand what you're saying about the voters, but for you yourself, do you still continue to endorse Jay Jones? 15 seconds, yes or no?
We are all running our individual races. I believe my opponent has said that about her lieutenant governor nominee.
Ms. Earl Sears.
And it's up to every person to make their own decision. I am running my race to serve Virginia, and that is what I intend to do.
WUSA 9 convening a focus group of 12 George Mason University students during the debate. 8 began the night firmly backing Spanberger, 1 supporting Earl Sears, the other 3 undecided. By the end of the night, enthusiasm for Spanberger noticeably waning.
Sears did better at, when I heard her speaking, I felt like she cared more about the issues.
Spanberger didn't even reference Earl Sears by her name. It was ma'am.
Spanberger looked stiff.
Spanberger really failed to make an impression.
Spanberger also attempting to dodge a question about whether she would repeal an executive order signed earlier this month by Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin, banning men from women's bathrooms and sports teams. On Sunday, an ABC affiliate offering Spanberger a do-over, asking for her response to Earl Sears' claim that Spanberger is fine with nude men in women's locker rooms. Might want to just settle in with your coffee here, because this is going to take a while.
The reality is the federal government has to be clear in what is the real guidance available to our schools as it relates to use of locker rooms. And at the end of the day, we have a president of the United States who is taking away and threatening federal funding. And it isn't just to these public schools. It is to our research institutions. It's for cancer research. It is for funding to conservation programs under USDA that are vital to so many of the farmers and producers who employ rotational grazing practices. But when it comes down to understanding the implementation of how it is that our kids are coexisting in the classroom or on the sports field, yes, I do think that in many cases it's the local community that knows their community best and can readily make decisions and provide guidance about how to ensure that all our kids are safe.
Cancer research and rotational grazing practices. Did you hear an answer on whether she favors letting boys and men into girls and women-only spaces or sports? Me neither. Election Day, just 3 weeks from today. Wild weather in Alaska leading to more than 51 rescues, with at least 3 people still unaccounted for. As across the country on the East Coast, a nor'easter brings powerful wind, rain, and flooding. Over the weekend, the remnants of a typhoon tearing through remote parts of western Alaska with winds topping 100 miles an hour, the storm pushing water levels more than 14 feet above normal, breaking the previous record set 25 years ago. Multiple agencies still searching for the missing as recovery efforts continue across the region. Governor Mike Dunleavy issuing a disaster declaration last Thursday in anticipation of the storm. Meantime, about 3,400 miles eastward, a nor'easter storm system pounding the East Coast with heavy wind and rain, coastal flood warnings or advisories across 10 states. New Jersey and parts of New York placed under a state of emergency over the weekend in anticipation of flooding. The 81st annual Columbus Day Parade in New York City canceled for safety reasons. In Brooklyn, a 76-year-old woman was killed when a solar panel broke loose in high winds, striking her as she was on a sidewalk, according to Fox Weather. In Massachusetts, 2 killed, 1 injured, when a small plane crashed on a highway median amid the storm. From the Carolinas up through New England, thousands more experiencing power outages, road closures, and flight delays amid the strong gusts and rain. The Weather Channel reporting conditions should begin improving today as the storm moves away from the coast. And that'll do it for your AM update. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here for The Megyn Kelly Show, live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 at noon East, on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly, and on all podcast platforms.